another segment if I don't, sorry to interrupt there, but Tony, man, you were right on last time. Tony, last time our headline of the month, Tony said health care reform goes down. And that was before the Massachusetts election. That was, I thought everybody was betting on health care reform. Tony says it's going down. Tony, we need a crown. You need a crown. What? So now, Tony, what's the
challenge?
Now you got. Everybody's going to be listening to you now. Tony.
Well,
what's the headline for this month?
You get lucky every now and then.
Well, no, you've been more than lucky. You got a couple. You got a number.
The thing that I think that is really going to start to impact our economy is state governments and state budgets. If you look. In aggregate, state budgets are going to be something like 170 to 180 billion in the red this year. States are looking at cuts of 15 to 20% next year versus this year's budgets.
So it's
because they're not getting those sales receipts.
So it might be the fault of some of the state governments. Local governments might default on some bonds.
Sure.
Orange County did
Absolutely.
a number of years ago.
Skyrocketing Medicaid
that's certainly
costs that they're facing.
Certainly a potential. Karen, a headline for the month. I mean,
it is budget blowout. Absolutely. And I think you're going to see a budget breakup between the executive branch and the Congress. The Congress is now feeling the heat. They feel the heat from their constituents. We're spending too much money.
Okay. And
the president just handed them a budget that's going to spend a ton more money. I mean, trillions of dollars of more money. 12% more than we spent on average for the last 30 years. So that's a big increase. Budget blowout. Budget breakup.
But of course, we all got a 12% raise last year, so 12% is not big, right?
Wouldn't that be nice?
12%, come on.
You know, we're talking about an annual deficit that is 4 times what we've ever had before, and it's an annual deficit.
You see pressure coming, and Karen, you see changes. In other words, that budget that the president put forth this week is just a starting point.
It's very much a starting point. Congress is going to have its way with this.
More cuts? I mean, you're saying...
You know, nobody ever likes to cut things in an election year, especially in an election year. So you're going to see different priorities, but you're not going to be able to see this type of spending sustained. They're feeling a lot of, look at all the poll numbers. What's the #1 issue that America says is the deficit, spending, stop it. And they want to be brought into the conversation, and they're not.
But 2/3 of that deficit is built upon entitlement programs. We're going to have to address those programs.
But this budget increases the entitlement programs.
Sure.
It starts bringing in educational grants, things that people like, and builds them into the entitlement program. So we're growing the entitlement part of our budget instead of cutting it.
But it's back to your energy plan, diversify. Well, we also have to diversify the cuts. In other words, everybody, we've all got to be part of the pain. And that's those of us in education, those of us in nonprofits, we all have to be part of the pain. Now, and we'll see it. Tony, we have students that come here at Creighton on assisted education or
financial aid, student loan, access to credit for student loans. So it's going to impact.
So you're saying it here, but you're not going to say it when you talk to the students and when you do talk to the students.
Well, I think they realize it. You know, everyone realizes that bank lending is not what it used to be.
We're all going to have to belly up, you know, and the headline that I'm going to be watching is interest rates. Again, it really, and that has something to do with both points that you're talking about. The deficit is pushing up because China, as you talked about earlier, Karen, China's sitting there, well, we've got $1 trillion of bonds, Treasury bonds, U.S. Treasury bonds, and Geithner, of course, went to China and said, relax, they're okay, and everybody in the room laughed. I mean, that's the type, in other words, the world is beginning to laugh at our bonds. Now, we're not going to default on them. It just means the yield's going to go up, and that's my concern. And your point, Tony, as well. When is there going to be a default by California, one of the California communities? I mean,
they gave MOUs to their state education officials already, so I don't know how much lower you can go.
And if you call them, and I've had this happen, I'm sorry, I've got to go. I'm on furlough beginning 10 minutes from now. I mean, this is the type we're in.
This is not America. This is not how we are competitive in a very competitive
We're talking
global
about
marketplace.
professors leaving town during the middle of a semester to various places saying, well, I'm on furlough. And they're instructed by the union to do that. In other words, they're instructed by the union to make it tough on the student, who will make it tough on the legislator. that will then increase spending.
And
Now
what do we need in this country? Intellectual capital.
That's
and
right.
so the students are paying the price. That means we won't have that next generation
Right.
of innovators, of entrepreneurs to sustain our economy.
Absolutely.
So
And-
we're shooting ourselves in the foot, reloading and shooting again.
Right, and as you have some of these defaults going on, and I've been, back to our earlier segment, we talked about recommendations, and I've been long on municipal bonds. Well, to Tony's point, oh gosh, we could have some defaults that aren't anticipated. And back to your point, Karen, about citizens are saying enough, enough, enough. And they're going to say it at the local level, they're going to say it at the state level, and at the federal
At the ballot
level.
box, too.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, at the ballot box, and as you said, this is an election year. That's the beauty of it, but there can be some real pain here. But you're on the side of deficit cutting, I think, as I'm hearing.
And we have to be careful about if we're, everybody's out for revenue. Nobody wants to reduce spending, so let's go find the revenue. Let's go tax the oil and gas companies. Let's go tax the insurance. Well, who's next?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, you get corporate America, small business, large business, everybody who creates the jobs in this country to say, well, wait a minute. We actually have to be able to make a profit to keep our people employed. So we have to have a balanced approach here, and it's, taking with one hand and giving back with the other doesn't necessarily work well.
Whoever we can demonize is the people we'll go
The good tax is the one someone else pays, of course.
Exactly.
I did a radio program the other day, and the person called in and asked, well, how much do you make? As if, that's the point. In other words, if you're on the enemies list, and
Sure.
I, of course, didn't answer the question, but the enemies list of you make too much, then, hey, then let's put the
But
burden
when
on
did
you.
it become a sin to be successful in this
Exactly,
country?
exactly.
We were built on the spirit of free enterprise and hard work, and that sort of has just been lopsided. We've turned it on an ear.
When we ran out of targets for taxes,
Right.
then it became a sin.
So now it's bad to be successful.
Right.
It's bad to have been smart and done your business right.
Well, the president says no tax increases for those making less than $200,000 on an individual level, $250,000 on a family. That I don't see how you can keep the promise. I don't see how.
And how many small businesses fit in that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a bait and switch. In other words, we take Goldman Sachs executives and say, well, look what they did. And then you turn around and get the dry cleaning person who owns a dry cleaning company. And he or she's saying, wait, that's not me. I mean, I'm working 7 days a week. I'm not, but they are. But I am too.
So if you're a successful athlete and you're playing professional baseball, then we like you being successful as long as you're only up to AAA. But once you make it to the majors, whoa, you're too successful now, and we're going to take your money.
Oh, absolutely.